So Daredevil, he's pretty popular right now, for no particular reason whatsoever. Oh, who am I kidding? You know why.
It's been some time, hasn't it?
After 6 years of anticipation, Charlie Cox's Daredevil and Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin finally returned in a proper continuation of the Netflix show, aptly titled Daredevil Born Again. A lot, and I mean a lot, was riding on this return. The minute Disney Plus was a thing, everyone and their mother was wondering when Daredevil was going to return. Now that we are here, and season 1 is over and done with, I gotta say, as a diehard fan of this version of the character, I feel like I was tossed into a ring with someone who had the devil inside, and barely made it out alive. That doesn't make sense. Oh, look, it was weird. It was a weird time. It was weird. Things happened. I don't even know, man. Simply put, this season as a whole is objectively a 6 to 7 out of 10, which by Disney Plus standards means it's the best live action Marvel show. I said what I said, I said what I said, I said what I said. You all probably feel the same way somewhat, that something was off. From the writing down to its direction, the season felt like it was playing a game of tug of war with itself, partly because behind the scenes, that's exactly what happened. Side characters introduced aren't given any time to feel like actual characters, the editing interrupts scenes that need to breathe, and the gulf of quality between the two creative teams that is obvious to even someone as blind as Matt brought down what could have been a grand return. Look, I'm just glad I'm walking away, looking forward to season 2. And we don't live in a timeline where my heart is shattered as I watch Feige and co decimate everything I hold dear to my heart, laughing their way to the Fantastic Four Doomsday box office, assuming the world hasn't blown up to bits. Is that hyperbolic? Maybe, but can you blame me? The Marvel Netflix shows were the first mature superhero media I ever experienced. They led me down the path to actual cinema and not another schlocky cape shit film, back when they were actually good and we didn't all crave a return to that era. The possibility of that legacy being spat on for no reason kept me up at night. With season 2 already in production scheduled for next year, we have another 8 episodes of Daredevil to look forward to. I thought I would throw my hat into the ring and give some general things that I would like to see from the show moving forward. Some of these are obvious, some maybe will surprise you, but before we begin, what do you want to see from season 2? Let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Request 1! Give the new characters some juice! Like I mentioned before, all the new characters introduced in Born Again they kind of suck. This is partly the result of the retooling not extending to every episode. Throughout season 1, Buck, Cherry, Kirsten, Heather, fucking Muse, and BB Urich are barely given anything to work with to flesh them out or help them feel more real and less like fodder for Matt and Fisk to interact with to facilitate their arcs. Even for Karen and Frank, as brief as their appearances are, they have to rely on our pre-established knowledge of who they were to carry their scenes because nothing substantial is given to them. For comparison's sake, take a look at the first scene with Foggy in the OG show. His first scene establishes their dynamic of best friends who are also law partners, introduces Brett Mahoney, the only good cop in the NYPD apparently, immediately establishes a rapport between the two that Matt isn't privy to, Brett's mom likes to smoke, and hints at what the episode's plot is going to be centered around. All of this is done in like a 3 to 4 minute scene and fleshes out these two just enough to make sure you feel like they're as real as you and me. This is what's missing from Born Again. We don't fully buy that Sherry and Matt have this sponsor-addict dynamic, nor what Matt and Kirsten are like as true law partners. Heather Glenn is supposed to be this therapist that is exploring the psychology of vigilantes, but that detail just comes and goes from the plot until it's relevant, and even then it feels too little, way too late. BB Urich, despite her presence felt through the BB report giving us a look at the citizens of New York reacting to the events of the show, is barely given anything beyond being the Gen Z Ben Urich. Don't get me started on Muse. Do you want this video to be an hour long? Do you want me to explain in detail why Muse is a terrible character? I don't think so. The only character, and I mean the only character that comes off unscathed, is Michael Gandolfini's Daniel Blake. Jury's still out on him actually being a Martian, but his admiration of Fisk and friendship with BB is this very interesting dynamic. The deputy mayor being so close to a nosy reporter is ripe with material just waiting to be capitalized on. Season 2 is only 8 episodes, but we need more juice from these characters, writing that actually gives them some personality and action outside of the main plot. The last 2 episodes of this season had to shove in all the character dynamics and dialogue we should have gotten but didn't, and possibly the most blatant course correction I've ever witnessed from a superhero property. No, Arrow Season 5, Legends of Tomorrow Season 2 exists. I take that back. Request 2. Commit to Reels Parkour. This one's a bit complicated, so let me go back a bit. Daredevil in the comics is pretty much Spider-Man in terms of how he moves throughout the city. It's something they have been doing since forever. His name is literally Daredevil, so it makes sense on some level Matt would be able to do this. Another Stan Lee classic. The 2003 movie with Ben Affleck got pretty close to this idea in my opinion, but that movie is just way too much. Due to the lower budget of the Netflix show, they couldn't really afford having a stuntman do too many insane acrobatics across the rooftops and alleyways. So that aspect of the character was regulated to specific moments like in season 1 where he's following a car, incorporated into the fights in some way through a limited capacity, or just straight up off camera sometimes just to get him from A to B. Normally, you would expect fans to be upset by this absence of a core part of the character's abilities, but because they were nailing pretty much every other aspect of Daredevil, this criticism isn't brought up too much, if at all. Small price to pay for peak fiction, I guess. Born Again, obviously because it is on Disney Plus, has a bigger budget, and can now afford truly capturing Daredevil's acrobatics as he swings across the rooftops, arriving in a blink in the eye to the "Oh my god! Oh no!" I 100% get why these shots may look rough. Time is a hell of an issue, especially when you're working on a show that was retooled mid-production and you have a very limited window left to fix it all up, including somewhat heavy VFX shots that have to combine and transition as smoothly as possible into different sequences. It just feels off? Uncanny? I love the ambition with Born Again in regards to how the scale and scope of the fights and stunts have increased thanks to being on what I assume is a more generous budget to work with. But I hope that there's better planning and the VFX artists involved are given time to perfect these moments. If they can reach even half the sauce of the Affleck movie, I would ascend into a higher plane of being. There's literally no reason why this one sequence from Defenders is better than all of Born Again. Bring back the squad! Bring them back! Bring back the boys and the girl. But the boys and the girl, the Defenders. Based on the ending of this season and some set leaks of season 2, one major plot point will be Matt on the run as the anti-vigilante task force and Fisk try to catch him. I could see them pulling a bit from Devil's Reign, the big event that followed Chip Zdarsky's first half of his run on Daredevil, where Fisk was mayor and declared war on vigilantes. This could be an ample opportunity to expand the roster of heroes in New York, giving us time to look into characters like Swordmaster, or, you know, you could bring back the fucking Defenders. It's been apparent based on interviews with the cast and crew that the problem with the old version of Born Again primarily stemmed from being confused whether or not this was a continuation of the Netflix Marvel world or a complete reboot. Huge characters like Karen, Foggy, and even Wilson Bethel's Bullseye were killed off screen or absent for no reason. Scardapane and the rest of the new creative team are huge fans of that world and want to bring back as many elements as possible in order to maintain all those stories and characters, unchanged for the most part. Reintroducing Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and even Danny Rand. I said what I said! He can be redeemed! He can be redeemed! I swear to God he can be redeemed! Just give him a chance! Give him a chance! Feel like the logical next step. Maybe even continue their stories in similar revivals to Born Again, since we're already giving John Berthel's Punisher a special. Imagine a Columbo-inspired Alias series with Jessica, or Luke Cage Season 3, or even an Iron Fist Season 3 with a retooled Danny Rand. Or, hear me out, a Heroes for Hire show is, in my opinion, exactly what these versions of Power Man and Iron Fist need. Finn Jones' Iron Fist had the unfortunate task of dealing with known cheapskate Scott Buck, and Luke Cage Season 2 ends in such an interesting place for Luke being the kingpin of Harlem that just brushing all that aside would be a travesty. However, if Marvel doesn't want to spend the cash on 2 shows at once, combining the worlds of Power Man and Iron Fist could be the shot in the arm these characters need. It could be about Danny coming back from his trip, regaining the Iron Fist proper, and trying to fight for the soul of Luke Cage. Or if you just want to ignore the endings of both their shows, a proper case of the week where Luke and Danny form the Heroes for Hire and take on odd jobs for superheroes. A Heroes for Hire show would be the perfect way to get 2 birds with 1 stone. Write like a TV show. Okay, hear me out. When the show was initially announced, a big thing Kevin Feige revealed was that season 1 was going to be 18 episodes. A common complaint about the Marvel Disney Plus shows were that the episode counts were too low and they felt more like movies split into parts. This news was a huge shakeup, and for the most part, fans were happy to see that Marvel finally learned their lesson. Not me though! I knew the second he announced that, something was going to go horribly wrong, and history was going to repeat itself. If you were a person with good taste, meaning you just watched the Netflix shows when they were coming out, the common complaint about them was the inverse of what happened with the Disney Plus shows. Too many episodes, pacing was off, blah blah blah, you get it. Even Defenders and Iron Fist Season 2 tried to cut the episode count down, but still this issue was apparently a big enough deal to keep bringing it up. In my uneducated opinion, Marvel Studios, when they were working on these projects for streaming, tried to avoid this pitfall the OG shows got into by turning all their shows into limited series, which would let them release movies and shows back to back to keep that train going. Obviously, this did not work, and that's why Marvel Television itself has been retooled to focus more on making shows with multiple seasons with a low to mid budget. No more giant Khonshu fights, thank God. When I say write like a television show, I don't mean simply the episode counts need to be more, although I welcome a return to the 12 episode season format. A huge praise of the early Marvel television shows, including the Netflix shows, was how we had this extended runtime the movies couldn't give. Every episode had either a solid beginning, middle, end, or they were entertaining in their own right and didn't feel like they were pressed for time. Season 1 only has 3 episodes that are almost an hour, while the rest barely go above 45 minutes. We even have what I think is Daredevil's first bottle episode with 5. This is a good step in the right direction, but going into season 2, I think getting as close to an hour as you can will pay off in the long run. Scardapane worked on Punisher season 1, so I'm hoping he brings an actual TV show driven mindset to the runtime of episodes. That's pretty much all I want from the future of this show. There's plenty of more minor things like... Taking a step back, it's a miracle this season is as good as it is. My expectations for this show were pretty low, to be honest, and I'm happy that more than once I was proven wrong. The parallel arcs from Matt and Fisk was a great through line to follow this season. Both men who are seemingly at the highest points of their lives can't let go of their darker halves. While it was retreading older ground, that's comic books 101, so for me it was okay, but I get why it can be a bit annoying. End of the day, I'm just glad this version of Daredevil is continuing on a decade after they were introduced. You can feel the love and respect the cast and crew has for the world of Daredevil, how they treat it with the utmost respect and admiration. Everything I love about Born Again is centered around how transformative the old Daredevil was to comic book shows. I could say so much about what the character of Daredevil represents and means to me, but I think Charlie Cox himself put it best in his foreword for the recently released Born Again collection from Marvel Comics. For me, Matthew's enduring fascination has always been his divided self. He's a man of profound contradictions, and when written best, he is a model of rectitude whilst having a moral center that seems to exist in polar opposite extremes. Yet how miraculous is it that in the pages of these books, not only do we trust him, but we see him as a man of deep integrity. In Born Again, he highlights maybe my favorite aspect of Matt's character, resilience. Upon writing this, I will shortly be entering into another long, hard stint of bringing this character to life on screen. Will I need to get through it all? Resilience.